This is the joiner. Joiner's main purpose is to remove warp. So if we have any kind of warp in a board, that's what this is for. If you have any kind of warp on the edge, it's not straight. That's what the main purpose is. The way it works is that there are 3 knives, 3 steel blades that revolve at about 4,000 revolutions per minute. They're set exactly even with the outfeed table. So when the board comes off there, it just slides right on top onto the outfeed table. The infeed table is this section. When you lower that infeed table, all right, that increases the amount being cut off the board. All right, so that's how it removes warp. It's just going to take off the high spots. When we do this, we always try to take the side that's warped the least. So that side's warped the least, so I'm going to put that side flat. I'm going to use a push block and a push pad. I'm never going to put my hands on top of it. Just joint the face. Now I have a flat face, all right? I've removed the warp. Now I'm going to take and joint my best edge. This has defects and stuff on this side where the bark was. And so this is probably my best edge over here. So I'm going to put that flat face against the joiner. Turn it back on, and now I'm going to run through. I'm going to curl my fingers up, and I'm going to push it back through. Once or twice through, we'll remove. We're not really trying to make it smooth. We're trying to make it flat. We'll get it straight and flat. The shorter the board, the easier it is to joint and to make it flat and straight. So that's the main purpose of the joiner. A few other things that you need to know: maximum cut on the joiner is 1/16 of an inch. And this ruler, the thickness of the ruler, this ruler is one of the thin ones, and about that much is about the maximum that we're going to take off at any one time. Right. We also have a minimum length on this machine. This board is shorter than the minimum length. The minimum length is 12 inches. So if it's less than the length of your foot, we're not going to joint that on the board, on the joiner. If it's a narrower board, like this one, it's less than the height of the fence. All right, we're going to use what's called a push stick. All right, push stick will go over the top and catch that edge, and then we'll actually take our hands, and as across the blade, I'm do what I call a step over technique. I'll step it over, so I'm never going to put my hands in anywhere close to the blade. I also curl my fingers up and I hold it on there, as opposed to just putting them down where they're going to be closer to the cutting edge. So I'm going to start it. So it's just joint and edge. And that's what we'll do probably 90% of the time, is just joint and edge. So if it's less than the height of the fence, or anytime you're in doubt, you can use a push stick. One of the other things that I've been doing, I don't know if you've noticed, is that when I'm using the joiner, I'm fairly close to the machine and I'm moving my feet while I'm doing it. I'm not leaning over top. I don't want to be scared of the joiner and try to keep as far away from it as possible. I need to be fairly close so I can run it through. One of the things that you want to mention is you want to avoid this area here and standing behind the joiner. There is a kickback potential, it's not very high, or there's not great potential for it, but if it has a loose knot or a defect, like this board has several knots in it, and several defects in it that can catch and then shoot out of there. And if you're standing right there, they can hit you. So it's a good idea if you're waiting for the joiner to wait off the side. We always want to feed from the right side to the left. We have two joiners. I'm going to demonstrate the other joiner right now. I'll demonstrate joint and edge. You'll get a good look at what the blade's doing. You'll also get an idea of how it always feeds from right to left because this one's turned around. So I'm going to feed from right to left here also. When using a joiner, you want to use a nice steady rate of feed. If you can push it through real fast, but then it doesn't give the blade time to cut. It'll kind of leave the surface bumpy. So you want to give it plenty of time to make the cut. Last thing I do want to mention is end grain. Sometimes boards are wide enough that it's got to be at least 12 inches in length. This is 12 inches, but it's actually 12 inches wide, not 12 inches long. So I could joint this board as far as a safety standpoint, and I'll show you what it does. For the most part, we don't want to joint end grain because it'll chip out at the end of it, and it's very unsafe with some of the. If I were to joint a board like this, where my end is only 3 or 4 inches, what can end up happening is, as the blade catches it, comes off there, and it'll kick it down, and then it can kick the board out and your ham's in. So we really want to avoid joining end grain for two purposes. One, it's not very effective as far as from the board standpoint, and it's not safe. So I'm going to do that one time just so you can hear and you can see it. Where it caught the end of the board, or the edge of the board as it's coming across, and it made that loud, like crack sound. So we want to avoid joining end grain. Joiner, main purpose is to remove warp. We joint edges and joint faces with it. If we're doing faces, we're going to use a push block and a push pad. Push block, push pad. Hopefully that's helpful in using the joiner.